Marathon, yeah, say that to me, yeah, say that. Yeah, say that to me, oh marathon. You can say that to me, yeah, say that. You can say that to me, marathon. Yeah, say that.
What does it really mean to take the hard road? What does it really mean to take the path of most resistance? What does it mean to work now, play later? I think that's something that YouTube has kind of all adopted in their attempt to teach you something. Everybody's saying, you should be doing this, how to do this. If you're not doing this, you're not this, right? And I think in YouTube's attempt in the influencer culture, everybody has their own TV show, everybody has a podcast. I think everybody wants to impart some type of wisdom to you, right? And in the center of a lot of the wisdom that they give you is a lot of that grind now, play later. And I think essentially, and from the core, it's obviously it's a wonderful message, but what does it really look like? What does it really mean to work now, play later? Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, this episode is brought to you by Nutrishop Parker. It is your one-stop shop for high-quality supplements, protein powders, and wellness products that actually deliver. Whether you're building muscle, burning fat, or just trying to feel better every day, Nutrishop's expert team can help you find what works best for you. If you're local to Colorado, stop by their Parker location for a personalized experience. And if you are tuning in anywhere in the USA, use code Brandon at checkout for free shipping on your order. Fuel your goals the right way, the Nutrishop way. All right, let's go. I was having a conversation earlier about what it means to create a YouTube channel. How do you get a following on YouTube? What methods can you do, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of broke down to a couple different situations where I felt a genuine moral disagreement with how you build an audience on YouTube. And I don't say that lightly, like a genuine moral disagreement. And I really want to get you guys' opinion on this because it seems like the best way to get a following on YouTube or to create high-level success and whatever you consider success is to position yourself against somebody else who is already popping, who is already clouded up, whatever it is. And I have a problem with that, right? It turns into a situation where I'll give one example of content creators and people who have podcasts. What they do is they'll talk about current events. They'll talk about an actor. They'll talk about a series of events happening, presidency, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually they all turn into the same type of show. They all turn into a talk show. They all turn into some type of news informational channel because if you really look at the metrics, the people who are watching YouTube are genuinely watching YouTube for informational reasons. People are watching YouTube to be taught something, to grow in some type of knowledge. So education is one of the main reasons why somebody would watch YouTube. And I have no problem with that. But the way people start turning their shows into talk shows, the real question is the people who we're talking about, and I'm not saying we as in I'm in it because I don't want to be that. When you talk about somebody, let's say like LeBron James, Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith has built his career off of talking about athletes. Nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, it's like LeBron carries, okay, you guys are going to really follow me on this one. In my opinion, I feel like LeBron carries the clout energy. He carries the energy because he has cultivated his talent, a standalone talent. He's created something that stands by itself. Whether news talked about him, whether we went to a game or not, it would not change the fact that this individual is highly talented in his field. And maybe you're triggered by LeBron, let's say Michael Jordan, let's say anybody else. They've created and cultivated a singular energy, talent, aura, ability that stands by itself. So then we have a Stephen A. Smith, or we have I don't really want to talk stuff about Stephen A. Smith because I don't like to gossip, but like we have somebody else who wants to talk about LeBron James, and essentially they are siphoning LeBron's energy, LeBron's clout, to give themselves clout, to give themselves views, to give themselves a bigger YouTube channel. Does that make sense? It's like this commentator is not creating and cultivating its own his or her own ability to stand alone in their energy. they're stealing someone else's standalone ability energy, talking about it, critiquing it, creating conversation, which of course helps this individual stay more in the public eye and stay more in, the cloutness, whatever you want to call it. I'm not picking my words carefully because you get what I'm trying to say. But I think eventually when you get the really talented individuals, they do start to make a name for themselves, right? So Stephen A. Smith is not bigger than basketball, but he is big amongst his commentators. I would say somebody else who's creating a name for themselves, Candace Owens, is not bigger than Donald Trump, not bigger than the political system, but she has a name in the political system that where if she was talking about something that genuinely appealed to herself, like if she's like, I'm talking about my life, Candace Owens, I know that that would get views on its own because she's now created her own standalone energy. And I know that for a fact because I remember she put out a video, probably about 2 months now, of her interviewing her husband, right? Somebody who was also not famous, but that I remember that getting about 1 million views or so, which is the best way to check where you're standing in terms of your personal energy. If you put out a video that you're just talking about yourself in your personal interests, in your personal life, does it still attract views? So, of course, that is a method. So let's say you build your career talking about LeBron James, you're Stephen A. Smith. Now Stephen A. Smith has created his own energy where he can talk about Stephen A. Smith stuff and genuinely only talk about what he likes and his family and interest. And now has his own standalone energy, right? Which is why he's now bringing his nephew in, Josh Smith, who is hilarious, who's going to be a great speaker and comedian, commentator. He's hilarious. But he's now bringing someone else in who's essentially stealing off of Stephen A. Smith's audience, energy, and everything to create his own standalone energy. And that's why Josh Smith has now his own show, The Josh Smith Show. So I'm not saying there's anything bad with it, but when it comes to like my moral disagreements is it might just be because of the kind of individual I see myself as. And maybe this is an ego thing, maybe there's a pride thing. I try to pray about it, so maybe that's not, like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I've always had more of an issue, like, I don't want to like piggyback off somebody else's clout. I don't want to follow someone else's this to get this. I don't want to use what someone else has cultivated and created and done and then siphon that and then become something new. And on my channel, I did do a video about Stephen A. Smith probably about a month or two ago when he really started that whole campaign against LeBron James. And I was saying, this is why Stephen A. Smith is losing. And that video has the most views of any of my podcast type of views. And I did that on purpose to see if it was true, right? So it was my own hypothesis, which is why I went back to doing what I want to do, which is this, just talking to you guys, creating thoughtful, thought-provoking content that isn't necessarily tied to someone else who's clouded up and popping. Because if I'm going to create an audience on YouTube, if I have a desire to do so, I would prefer it to be organically me, right? I don't want to have a talk show. I don't want to be a podcast host that just talks about current events and news, because it just kind of falls in line with like those who can't do teach. And it falls in line with a couple different philosophies that I have when it comes to, you know, how to make your mark in this world. I think that there's a lot of nuance to the game. So this might be my most difficult topic because I'm riding the line of saying I have a problem with it morally, but then I also know that there's no real issue with it, right? So it's just a personal conviction, right? But if you are resonating with that and you want to create something that is genuinely yourself, right? And you want to make your best art ever, or you're a filmmaker, you want to make the best movie ever, or you want to make the best song ever, you're a rapper. I think the people who are the true creatives, the true innovators, it's really hard to get in the picture of positioning yourself along with somebody else just so you can get something. Like I'm a person who believes that standalone great art can stand alone, right? And throughout history, there's been a handful of people who have not needed to piggyback off of something else. at least not entirely. Like, of course you do features as a singer or as a rapper. You bring somebody else on and then they put you on. I get that, because it's very difficult to just build your own audience from scratch, right? Drake is breaking all the records, whatever, but of course he needed a Lil Wayne cosign. I understand that. But I think when it comes to building your whole career off of that cosign, that's where I start to look at it like, okay, when do you stand alone on your own? And Stephen Smith is a horrible example because his whole job is predicated off of talking about basketball, which he does not play. So don't get misconstrued. I understand what I'm saying. But when it comes to like other versions of art, singing, acting, painting, anything that you could possibly do that is in the field of creativeness, like even Elon Musk in creating the electric car, Tesla, things like that. Like, of course, there's so much nuance, and I don't want to have to just keep prefacing it for you guys. So I'm just going to talk very straightforward. I think that there have been plenty of people in our history in America who have created something standalone, and maybe they got a cosign at the beginning, but then they eventually found their own lane. Like, I guess Drake is a great example of like, he got the Wayne cosign, but then he doesn't just keep shouting out Wayne on every song. He doesn't keep saying, Wayne put me on, Wayne put me on. Like, he's 20 years into a career where he has his own name. He has his own standalone energy, but he just used it a little bit at the beginning, right? So that's different than all these podcasters and all these people on YouTube who are creating videos, who are talking about current events, talking about Yahoo News and what Donald Trump is doing and things like that. And now they kind of are now trapped in talking about current events, even though they started their channel for something else, right? So if you're a filmmaker channel and you want to talk about film, yes, talk about the current films that are out. But at the same time, if your reason for making your filmmaking channel was to get attention for the projects that you are doing yourself, you have to also take that leap of faith saying that, yes, I do believe that I am interesting enough to make a channel about my art, channel about my film, channel about things that I want to do in this world, in this medium. And I think once you really take that leap and start doing that, I think we're going to have way more individuals, because now it's kind of turning into like a cookie cutter situation where everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody's the same dude, the same woman, and they're all talking about the same things. Like, how many outlets are talking about Shannon Sharpe's issues right now? How many of these news channels are talking about how the Lakers just lost 4-1? Like, news is great. But I know a lot of these people, because I watched the beginning of where they started, a lot of these people did not set out to be news channels. They didn't set out to be podcast hosts in the way where all they do is follow the format of somebody else. I think a lot of them, on the other flip side, watched what Joe Rogan did and thought that they could do the same thing. I think people want to interview interesting people and learn interesting things, and they want to have a podcast of sorts. But I think there are a decent amount, a hefty amount of people who wanted to create their YouTube channel genuinely to talk about something that they wanted to create or something that they believe in, some type of artisticness that they believe in, and now have fallen victim to, well, I'm not getting views unless I talk about other people's stuff. And that perpetuates the celebrity type of circle that we're always in. In the same way, we're always talking about, oh, well, we don't want to see Kim Kardashian anymore. We don't want to see these celebrities whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop anymore. I think this camera's brightening up for some reason. Crazy. But we don't want to see these celebrities anymore, this. But the only way that a lot of these content creators can eat is if they do talk about these celebrities in a way where it keeps them in the public eye. So it's like a vicious circle of you being afraid to just stand on whatever it is that you're creating and not positioning it next to somebody. And then also the celebrities understanding that they have the system behind them, the wheel that's turning, that keeps you having to talk about them, which keeps them in the public eye, and now they've won. Right, so if you got anything from this video, I would say confidence. There is something to this work now, play later type of situation that we're in. It does benefit you because it keeps you from being trapped it keeps you as an individual. It showcases a huge amount of confidence, and you don't play the game that other people want you to play. The system has a game for you to play, and a lot of them are falling victim to the game, knowing full well we don't want to perpetuate the celebrity culture of people who are not talented, but we have to talk about them because they're doing wild shit, right? So be more confident, stand on your own merits. You have art that is legitimately good. And if it's not good, you have time to make it good, but it's about your story. Start telling your own story. Start creating an interesting YouTube channel that you want to make. And that's just it. Until next time.
Yeah, say that to me. Yeah, say that. Yeah, say that to me. Oh, marathon. You can say that to me. Yeah, say that. You can say that.